Marcus Webb sat in his home office, staring at the holographic blueprints floating before him. But the numbers and angles refused to make sense. The orbital habitat design was due in 3 days, and he'd made almost no progress. Through the thin walls of their compact apartment on Celesta Station, he could hear Zoe singing off-key to whatever educational program she discovered this time. He rubbed his eyes, feeling the familiar weight of exhaustion settle into his bones. 16 months since Claire's accident. 16 months of trying to be both parents, both caretaker and provider, and failing spectacularly at both. The apartment door chimed with its cheerful, oblivious tone. "Daddy?" Zoe's voice carried that particular pitch that meant trouble. "The food maker is smoking again." Marcus lunged from his chair, nearly tripping over the stack of unwashed laundry he'd been meaning to deal with for a week. The kitchen synthesizer was indeed producing an ominous gray cloud, and his 6-year-old daughter stood on a chair, poking at it with a wooden spoon. Zoe. Down. Now? He lifted her away and jabbed at the emergency shutoff. The machine wheezed into silence, leaving behind the acrid smell of burnt circuitry and what might have been attempted macaroni. Zoe's lower lip trembled. "I just wanted a snack." The guilt hit him like a physical blow. When had he last made her a proper meal? When had he last done anything but shuffle her between school and neighbors while he worked late on projects that never seemed to end? "I know, sweetheart." He knelt beside her, brushing her dark curls from her face. She had Claire's eyes, that warm amber that could light up a room. Now they just looked tired. "How about we order something from the station cafe?" "The expensive place?" Her eyes widened. The fact that his daughter considered basic food expensive made something crack in his chest. "Yeah, the expensive place. You pick whatever you want." After Zoe was settled with her noodles and some animated show about friendly space creatures, Marcus returned to his office and did something he'd been avoiding for months. He opened his personal tablet and navigated to Celesta, station's community board. His fingers hovered over the input field. This felt like admitting defeat, like broadcasting to everyone that he couldn't handle his own life. But as another crash sounded from the living area, followed by Zoe's apologetic, "I'm okay," he started typing dots seeking household assistance. Single father, working architect, needs help with 6-year-old daughter. Duties include childcare, meal preparation, general housekeeping. Competitive pay, flexible hours, room and board negotiable. All species welcome. Contact Marcus Webb. He stared at the words for a long moment, then hit send before he could change his mind. The response came faster than expected. By the time Marcus tucked Zoe into bed that night, 3 messages waited in his inbox. 2 were clearly automated responses from agencies he couldn't afford. The third was different. "Mr. Webb, I am writing regarding your advertisement. My name is Thisha. I have experience caring for children and managing households. I am recently arrived on Celesta Station under refugee status and am seeking stable employment. I would appreciate the opportunity to discuss this position. I should mention that I have a daughter, age 7. If this is problematic, I understand. Thank you for your consideration. Marcus, read the message twice. A refugee with a child. That complicated things. But something about the formal, careful wording touched him. He could sense the desperation beneath the polite words, the same kind he felt every time he looked at Zoe's thin frame with a pile of bills on his desk. He typed back, "Esha, thank you for your interest. Having a daughter isn't a problem. Zoe could use a friend her age. Would you be available for an interview tomorrow at 10 a.m.? My address is Unit 447, Residential Sector 7. The reply came within minutes. I will be there. Thank you for this opportunity. Marcus spent the next morning in a frantic attempt to make the apartment presentable. He shoved clothes into closets, scrubbed suspicious stains from the kitchen counter, and tried to impose some order on the chaos that had become their living space. "Why are you cleaning so much?" Zoe asked, watching him with amused curiosity from the couch. "Someone's coming to visit. Someone who might be able to help us out, like a babysitter? Sort of, maybe more like a—" He paused, unsure how to explain it. "Like a helper. For both of us." Zoe considered this. "Will I like her?" "I don't know yet, sweetie. We'll find out together." The door chimed at exactly 10 o'clock. Marcus smoothed his shirt, suddenly aware that he'd worn the same thing for 3 days, and opened it. The woman standing in his doorway took his breath away, and he immediately felt guilty for noticing. She was tall and willowy, with skin that shimmered between silver and pale blue, depending on how the light caught it. Her hair, if it could be called that, flowed like water down her shoulders in shades of deep indigo. Large eyes, luminous and violet, regarded him with cautious hope. She wore simple clothes, the standard issue gray that marked her as a station refugee, but she carried herself with quiet dignity. Behind her, partially hidden by her mother's frame, stood a small girl with the same shimmering skin and impossibly large eyes. "Mr. Webb?" Her voice was melodic, accented in ways his translator struggled to process. "I am Thesha. This is my daughter, Nova." Marcus found his voice. "Please, come in." And it's just Marcus. As they entered, he watched Thesha take in the apartment with quick, assessing glances. He saw it through her eyes. The mismatched furniture, the half-finished architectural models scattered on every surface, the general air of a life barely held together. "I apologize for bringing Nova," Thesha said, one hand resting protectively on her daughter's shoulder. "Our temporary housing has no childcare services, and I had nowhere else to leave her. It's fine, really." Marcus gestured toward the living area. "Zoe's here too. Can I get you something to drink? Water, tea? I have juice boxes if Nova wants one." Water would be appreciated. As he moved to the kitchen, Zoe emerged from her room, clutching a stuffed elephant that had seen better days. She stopped short when she saw their visitors, her eyes going wide. "Wow," she breathed. "You're purple." "That's so pretty, Zoe." Marcus felt his face flush. "That's not polite." But Thesha smiled, a transformation that made her whole face luminous. "Thank you, little one. You have beautiful eyes, like sunset on my home world." Nova peeked out from behind her mother, studying Zoe with careful interest. The two girls regarded each other for a long moment, then Zoe held out her elephant. "Want to see my room? I have a collection of rocks from different planets." Nova looked up at her mother, who nodded. "You may go. Be polite." Within seconds, both girls had disappeared down the hallway, leaving Marcus alone with Thesha in the suddenly quiet living room. "They seemed to connect well," Thesha observed, settling onto the couch with unconscious grace. Marcus handed her a glass of water and sat in the chair across from her, trying to maintain some professional distance. "Tell me about yourself. Your message said you're a refugee?" The light dimmed slightly in Thesha's eyes. "Yes, my husband Ren and I lived on Ethereer Prime. He was a translator for the merchant guilds. 3 months ago, there was an attack. A terrorist cell targeted the guild complex." Her voice remained steady, but her fingers tightened around the glass. "Ren was killed. The Terran Alliance offered sanctuary to survivors. Nova and I had nowhere else to go. I'm sorry." The words felt inadequate, but they were sincere. "I lost my wife, too. Accident on the construction deck. 17 months ago." Their eyes met, and in that moment, Marcus felt a connection he hadn't experienced since Claire's death. Here was someone who understood the particular weight of grief, the challenge of trying to be strong for a child while falling apart inside. "It is difficult," Thesha said softly. "To be strong alone, yeah. Marcus's throat felt tight. Yeah, it really is. From Zoe's room came the sound of laughter, bright and genuine. When had he last heard his daughter laugh like that? Your advertisement mentioned room and board, Lesha said, shifting the conversation back to practical matters. I must be honest with you, Marcus. The refugee housing is temporary. We have 2 weeks before we must relocate, and I have been unable to secure permanent accommodations. Station housing prioritizes residents with established work contracts. She met his gaze directly. I need more than just employment. I need stability for Nova. If that is too much to ask, I will understand. Marcus thought about his spare bedroom, currently serving as a storage space for all the things he couldn't bear to sort through. Thought about Zoe's lonely meals and her tired eyes. Thought about the laughter still echoing from down the hall. What if, he said slowly, the job included that room? Room and board, plus salary. You'd help with Zoe, keep the place running, and in return, you and Nova would have somewhere stable to live. Lesha's eyes widened. You would do this? For strangers? You wouldn't be strangers for long. Marcus smiled. And honestly, I think we might need you more than you need us. This place is falling apart, and I'm drowning trying to keep up with work, and Zoe, and just everything. Among my people, Lesha said carefully, such an arrangement would be considered quite intimate. It would imply intentions beyond simple employment. Marcus felt heat rise in his cheeks. Oh, I didn't mean to suggest anything inappropriate. This would be purely professional. Separate rooms, clear boundaries. Just practical help, I see. Was that disappointment in her voice? Human customs are different from Etherian ones. I understand. Is that a yes? Marcus asked hopefully. Lesha was quiet for a moment, then nodded. Yes, for Nova's sake, and perhaps for mine as well, I accept your offer. Relief flooded through him. Great, that's great. You can move in whenever you're ready. As if summoned by their agreement, both girls emerged from Zoe's room, holding hands. Daddy, Zoe announced with the solemnity of a royal decree, Nova is going to be my best friend. She has to stay forever. Marcus and Lesha exchanged glances over their daughters' heads, both smiling despite themselves. We'll see what we can do, Marcus said, and for the first time in 16 months. The apartment didn't feel quite so empty. Moving day arrived on a Saturday morning with unexpected chaos. Marcus had spent the previous evening clearing out the spare bedroom, hauling boxes of Claire's things into storage with a heavy heart. Each item he packed away felt like another goodbye, but the sound of Zoe's excited chatter about her new sister friend kept him moving forward. The doorbell chimed at 9 o'clock sharp. Marcus opened it to find Lesha and Nova standing with 2 small cases and a single cloth bag. Everything they owned in the universe fit into 3 containers. This is all? The words slipped out before he could stop them. Lesha's expression remained neutral, but something flickered in her violet eyes. We left in haste. There was little time to gather belongings. I didn't mean. Marcus hefted the larger case, surprised by its weight. Come on in. Zoe's been up since dawn rearranging her room so Nova can see everything properly. As if on cue, Zoe burst into the entryway wearing mismatched pajamas and a tinsel crown from some forgotten birthday party. You're here. Nova, come see what I did. Nova glanced at her mother, who nodded permission, and the girls disappeared in a flurry of giggles and excitement. Marcus led Lesha to the spare bedroom. He'd managed to make it presentable. Fresh sheets on the bed, the closet cleared out. Even a small vase of synthetic flowers on the dresser that he'd bought from the station market in a moment of unexpected sentimentality. Lesha set down her bag and turned in a slow circle, taking in the space. Her hair-like tendrils lifted slightly, a gesture Marcus was beginning to recognize as emotion. It is lovely. More than I hoped for. There's a connecting bathroom through that door. You'll have to share it with the girls, but, Marcus. She turned to face him fully. This is more generosity than most would show strangers. Thank you. The sincerity in her voice made his chest tight. You're welcome. I'll let you get settled. Take your time. But as he reached the door, her voice stopped him. Among Etherians, there is a tradition when entering a new dwelling. Would you permit me to perform it? It would bring peace to my spirit. Of course. Whatever you need. Vesha opened her cloth bag and withdrew a small crystal prism suspended on a silver chain. She held it up to the window, and fractured light scattered across the walls in dancing patterns of purple and blue. We believe that light carries the memories of those we have lost, she explained softly. By inviting their light into a new space, we keep them with us. Her voice wavered slightly. Ren loved how light moved through crystals. He collected them from every world we visited. Marcus found himself moving closer, drawn by the gentle beauty of the ritual and the grief in her words. That's beautiful. Claire loved light too. She was always opening curtains, saying that sunshine was free medicine. She sounds like she was wise. She was. Marcus watched the light patterns shift across Vesha's shimmering skin. She would have liked you, I think. Vesha met his gaze, and for a moment, the air between them felt charged with something Marcus couldn't name. Then voices from the hallway broke the spell. But can you eat human food? Zoe was asking with intense curiosity. Most things, Nova replied, her accent softer than her mother's. Some textures are strange for us, and we cannot have your chocolate. It makes us very sick. No chocolate? Zoe sounded horrified. That's the saddest thing ever. Marcus and Vesha emerged to find the girls sitting cross-legged in the hallway, already deep in conversation about the complexities of interspecies dietary requirements. I should make breakfast, Marcus said, then remembered the broken synthesizer. Or we could order something in again. If you would permit me, Vesha said, moving past him toward the kitchen. I would like to prepare our first meal in this home. Do you have basic ingredients? Some, probably, maybe. Marcus opened the conservation unit to reveal a sparse collection of wilted vegetables, expired milk, and several unidentifiable containers. I'm not great at shopping. Vesha surveyed the contents with an unreadable expression, then pulled out several items with decisive movements. This will suffice. Girls, come wash your hands and help me. Within 20 minutes, the apartment smelled like something Marcus couldn't identify, but desperately wanted to eat. Vesha moved through the kitchen with efficient grace, directing both girls in simple tasks while somehow creating a meal from his pathetic supplies. She hummed while she worked, a melody that made Marcus think of wind through tall grass. You can do other things, she said without turning around. I do not require supervision. I'm not supervising. Marcus trailed off, realizing he was indeed just standing there watching her. I'll set the table. The plates are in the upper cabinet, Zoe informed Nova with the authority of a tour guide. The fancy ones we never use are in the back. We're using the fancy ones today, Vesha announced. A first meal in a new home deserves celebration. Marcus retrieved Claire's good plates, the ones with the delicate floral pattern that he'd been too afraid to use since she died. As he set them on the table, he felt Vesha's eyes on him. They were hers? She asked quietly. Yeah, wedding gift from her mother. I've been keeping them safe, he smiled sadly, which really means I've been hiding from them. Perhaps it is time to stop hiding. The simple statement hit harder than it should have. Marcus nodded, not trusting his voice. Breakfast turned out to be some kind of grain porridge elevated into art. Vesha had somehow coaxed flavor from his meager supplies. Adding spices Marcus didn't remember owning and arranging everything with care that made the simple meal feel special. "This is amazing," Marcus said around his second helping. "What is this?" "A traditional Ethiopian morning dish, adapted for human ingredients. We call it sunlight porridge because it is meant to warm you from within." Desha smiled at his enthusiasm. "I am pleased you enjoy it. Can you teach me to make it?" Zoe asked. "For when you have days off, I would be happy to teach you. Cooking is meant to be shared knowledge." Marcus watched his daughter lean closer to Nova, both girls comparing the patterns on their plates, and felt something shift in his chest. This was what had been missing. Not just help with chores or childcare, but life, warmth, the sense that their apartment was a home again, rather than just a place where they slept between obligations. After breakfast, while the girls played in Zoe's room, Marcus helped Visha clean up. They worked in comfortable silence until she spoke. "I should establish boundaries. Your brother mentioned you work long hours." "My brother?" Marcus looked up confused. "I don't have a brother. The man who stopped me in the hallway. Tall, with facial hair? He said he was checking on you and Zoe." "Oh, that's Garrett. He's not my brother, just my oldest friend. He lives down the hall and takes unofficial responsibility for everyone on this floor." Marcus smiled. "What did he say?" "That you are a good man who forgets to eat when working on projects. That Zoe needs more stability than you can provide alone. That I should take good care of both of you." Vesha paused. "He also said that he would hold me personally accountable if I caused you any harm. Your friend is protective. That sounds like Garrett. Don't worry about him. He's all bark." "I found it reassuring, actually. It is good that you have people who care for you." They finished the dishes, and Marcus found himself hyper-aware of how often their hands nearly touched in the soapy water, how Vesha's presence seemed to fill the small kitchen with warmth. "So, boundaries," he said, forcing himself to focus. "What did you have in mind? Working hours, duties, expectations. I do not wish to overstep or presume too much familiarity." Marcus leaned against the counter. "Honestly, I'm making this up as I go. I've never employed anyone before. What would make you comfortable?" Vesha considered this, her tendrils moving in that thoughtful way he was learning to read. "I can manage the household, cooking, cleaning, organizing. I will care for Zoe when you are working, help with her schooling, ensure she eats properly, and maintains routines. In return, you provide housing, salary, and respect for our privacy. Does this seem fair?" "More than fair. But Vesha, you're not a servant. You're—" He struggled for the right word. "You're helping us, yes, but you're also living here. This is your home too now. I don't want you to feel like you have to hide in your room when you're not actively working. You are comfortable with me being present? In your space? Yeah, I mean, we'll both need our own time and privacy. But I don't want you to feel like you need to ask permission to use the living room or anything. That would be weird." A small smile played at Desha's lips. "Your human customs continue to surprise me. On Etheria, such casual cohabitation would be considered quite scandalous." "Well, we're not on Etheria." "No," she said softly, something unreadable in her eyes. "We are not." The afternoon passed in a flurry of settling in. Vesha unpacked their few belongings with quiet efficiency, while Marcus attempted to work on his overdue habitat design. He found his concentration repeatedly broken by sounds from the rest of the apartment. The girls' laughter, Vesha's melodic humming, the simple domestic noises of a home being lived in. Around 4 o'clock, his wrist chimed with a message from Garrett. "How's the new arrangement? Should I bring dinner to celebrate? Or give you space?" Marcus glanced toward the kitchen, where Vesha was teaching both girls to fold dumplings, their small hands earnestly mimicking her graceful movements. He typed back, "Bring dessert instead." "Vesha's cooking dinner," And Garrett? Thanks for looking out for me. Always, brother. See you at 6. We're having a guest for dinner, Marcus announced, entering the kitchen. My friend Garrett. Hope that's okay. Of course. This is your home. Vesha paused, then added with a small smile. Our home. I should adjust my thinking. Yeah, our home. That sounds good. Garrett arrived precisely at 6 with a container of honey cakes from Yuki's bakery on the station's market level and his usual boisterous energy. He swept into the apartment like a friendly tornado, immediately crouching to greet both girls at eye level. And you must be Nova, he said with exaggerated formality. Zoe's told me approximately 1 million things about you in the last 2 hours via message. Apparently, you can name all the planets in the Proxima system in order. Nova nodded shyly, then proceeded to list them with impressive accuracy. Outstanding. Garrett turned to Vesha. And you must be the miracle worker who cleaned this disaster zone. I'm Garrett Chun. I live in 451 and serve as the unofficial welcoming committee for this floor. Vesha. She accepted his offered handshake with Etherean-style formality, touching palms briefly. Thank you for the kind words in the hallway earlier. And for the dessert. Just looking out for my people. Marcus is hopeless on his own. Last week, one found him eating protein bars for dinner 3 nights in a row. That was 1 week when I was on deadline, Marcus protested. It was also last month. And the month before that. Dinner was unexpectedly wonderful. Vesha's cooking had transformed Marcus's basic ingredients into something that made even Garrett, notoriously difficult to impress, go silent with appreciation. The dumplings were delicate perfection, the sauce complex and flavorful. The simple vegetables somehow elevated into art. If you ever need a different job, Garrett said seriously, Yuki at the bakery would hire you in a heartbeat. This is restaurant quality. Vesha's skin shimmered with what Marcus was learning to recognize as pleasure at the compliment. Cooking is meditation for me, a way to create order from chaos. Well, you've definitely brought order to this chaos. Garrett gestured around the transformed apartment. Marcus, did you know your floors could actually be clean? I'd forgotten what color they were. You're hilarious. After dinner, while the girls showed Garrett their rock collection with intense enthusiasm, Marcus helped Vesha clean up again. It was becoming a routine already, this companionable quiet as they worked together. Your friend cares deeply for you, Vesha observed. You are fortunate in your chosen family. Garrett's been there since academy days. He helped me survive those first months after Claire died. Would show up with food, take Zoe to the park, just sit with me when I couldn't handle being alone. Marcus dried a plate carefully. I owe him a lot. He would say you owe him nothing. That is what family does. Yeah. Marcus set down the plate and turned to face her. And now you're part of that. You and Nova. I want you to know that. Vesha's violet eyes widened slightly. Marcus, we have known each other only days. I know. But you're already making such a difference. The apartment feels alive again. Zoe's smiling more. I'm actually eating real food. He smiled. Maybe humans just bond quickly. Or perhaps, Vesha said softly, some connections transcend the usual measures of time. They stood there in the kitchen, the sounds of Garrett's booming laugh and the girls' excited voices filtering in from the living room. And Marcus felt something shift between them. Not quite friendship, not yet something more, but a possibility hanging in the air, like Vesha's light crystal, something fragile and beautiful that needed careful tending. I should warn you, Marcus said, breaking the moment with deliberate lightness. I'm a disaster at mornings. I'll probably stumble out looking half dead and grunt instead of speaking. I have noticed. Your hair stands up in interesting patterns. You've noticed my hair? Vesha's skin shimmered with what might have been a blush. I notice many things. Before Marcus could process that loaded statement, Garrett appeared in the doorway. Hate to interrupt whatever's happening here, but it's getting late, and these kids need sleep. I should head out. They walked him to the door, where he pulled Marcus aside while Visha helped the girls get ready for bed. She's good for you, Garrett said quietly. I can already see the difference. It's only been one day. Sometimes one day is enough to know something's right. Garrett clapped him on the shoulder. Don't overthink it, Marcus. You're allowed to be happy again. After everyone left, Marcus found himself alone in the living room with Vesha. Both girls had fallen asleep quickly, worn out by the excitement of the day. Thank you, Marcus said, for everything. The cooking, the cleaning, making Zoe smile like that. Just thank you. You need not thank me for doing what brings me joy. Caring for others is my nature. She moved toward her room, then paused at the doorway. Marcus, I'm glad I answered your advertisement. This feels like the beginning of something good. Yeah, he agreed, his heart doing something complicated in his chest. It really does. As she disappeared into her room, Marcus stood in his clean, warm, suddenly too quiet living room and wondered what exactly he'd started. He'd been looking for help with his daughter and housework. What he'd found was a woman who made his apartment feel like a home again, who looked at him with eyes that seemed to see past his defenses, whose very presence made the empty spaces inside him feel less vast than it had been one day. Just one day, and everything had already changed.